What is going on, everybody? How are we all doing? Welcome back today to F1 2016. This is episode number 2 of our Red Bull Racing career mode. If you missed episode number 1, I'll put a little information card in the top right hand corner of the video. You can click on that now, take you to episode 1, watch that one first, but we're going to get straight into the action in episode 2. You can see we've just started to upgrade the engine. I've decided that was the best way to go. I feel that although the Red Bull is a competitive car, obviously at the top end of the grid, the one area where it does lack, especially in comparison to that Mercedes, is raw engine power. So I decided that was where we were going to start the upgrades, and I explained it in episode 1. Actually, what we're going to be doing today is you'll be shown what you see now, which is the first objective-based practice session. We have 3 to do. It seems to be the same for every single circuit. We have the qualifying hot lap one, we have the tyre management one, and then we have the sort of learning the track one, which is the one that you're seeing in the background right now. And very similar, in fact exactly the same to the first track. Again, I managed to pass the gate one, which is the one that you see now. I managed to pass the hot lap one, which you will not see, but we did manage to pass that one. But unfortunately, again, I failed on tyre management. I think I just suck at tyre management. Let me know in the comments section how to do it better. I'm trying to accelerate more gently, brake more gradually, but it just doesn't seem to make any difference, man. I don't know what it is that I'm doing wrong, but we managed to pass the gate one and the hot lap one. And one thing I will say, the first few tracks of the F1 circuit campaign, so you're sort of Australia, Bahrain, like the tracks that you're seeing right now essentially, are tracks that I feel like I know them pretty well from previous F1 games, and that really is helping right now because we're getting in all these points from the R&D that we're doing, which is going to help make the car better in the long run and hopefully make us super competitive. But one thing I will say as well, that I've sort of, it seemed like anyway, while we're going through practices, that this Red Bull car is very competitive on this Bahrain track. It's not the quickest in a straight line, but when you look at Bahrain as a whole, there's only really the 2 straights. It's the major straight, which is the start-finish straight, and then the one that we're on right now, which just leads into the start-finish. And other than that, it's quite a technical, turny track, and like I say, it seems to suit the car really well. We're just about to come to the finish line now of this objective. Once that's done, you'll see how many R&D points we've earned in total. Like I've already mentioned and you've seen, we've spent some of the points already on the engine and trying to make the car faster in the long term, but we're getting the points up now, so it's going to be interesting to see where to take the car next, whether we go to downforce, whether we go to sort of fuel management. A lot of choices, but I was really actually looking forward to qualifying. We're just getting the call now saying what our qualifying objectives are, and the qualifying objective seems to be the same every single time. Finish above 5th or higher, and managed to beat Daniel Ricciardo, who's of course our teammate and rival. So I went into qualified knowing that we showed really good pace throughout the practice sessions. We'd always been in the sort of top 5, top 4 at least, and it was sort of very close times. But in qualifying, you're seeing, as I've mentioned again in the first episode, I'll just show you the quickest lap of the qualifying stage that we're at now. I've got it set so that we do the qualifying 1, qualifying 2, then the shootout at the end, but I'm only going to show you the shootout because I think at this point, unless it's a track that I'm struggling on, it was just a given that we were going to get to this point because we were absolutely dominant. Like I said, we got good pace on the track. That won't always be the case, but in the first 2 races, Australia and Bahrain, it definitely was. And like I said, I was quite looking forward to it. You'll see the first time coming in just a second, which I think is by Kimi Raikkonen. And generally, from practice sessions, it seemed that a 134, low 134, sort of high 133 was going to be a really competitive time. And when I say that, I mean competitive for pole. You can see Kimi Raikkonen sets the fastest so far with a 135, which, like I say, not super competitive, probably sort of top 8 worthy, but I felt like I could beat that. Obviously you get sort of 3 or 4 laps. I think you're probably looking at 3 laps, but there you go. Rosberg 134.451, that's what I say. If 134 low would definitely be pole, because if Rosberg's putting in those kind of times in the Mercedes, then you know that's going to be sort of up there as far as times go. But you can see we're coming now onto that final straight before you turn into the home straight. It felt like a smooth lap at the time. I knew it was going to be decent, but again, it's very similar to Australia. I think I very much underestimated how quick we were. I mean, I know said we were competitive, but on expert, going up against the Mercedes, I just didn't expect to be this quick. You can see Ricciardo put it in a 134.419, then we absolutely blow them all out the water. 133.4 in. Like I said, that is just absolutely blowing everyone completely out of the water going into the race. Where, like I said, starting on pole again, hopefully we can have a bit more success than we did in Australia.
There's something in the Bahrain air tonight, and I'm not just talking about the sand. Our brightest minds have thrust their brightest ideas into the spotlight of the Sakhir circuit this evening as we look ahead once more to a Grand Prix that has thrilled us so consistently in the past. So before the off, let's remind ourselves of yesterday's qualifying session with a look at the starting grid. It's Red Bull in pole position then, and it's Lewis Hamilton alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid we have Vettel, Ricciardo, Nico Rosberg, and Raikkonen, Bottas, Massa, Button, and Esteban Gutierrez. Hulkenberg, Perez, Kevin Magnussen, and Palmer, Kvyat, Sainz, Marcus Ericsson, and Felipe Nasser, Alonso, and Wehrlein. Rio Haryanto and Roman Grosjean starts from the back of the grid. Now it's almost time to lights out, so let's go down to the track.
So lads, we're back on the grid for race day. You can see the strategies on the screen now. This time we went for the standard strategy, which is the 2-stopper, because the 3-stopper failed us miserably last time. We're on the grid, we've got this starting procedure again, which clearly, as you can see, I'm just not used to it. We didn't have a terrible start, I didn't think, again this time, but Hamilton does jump us off the line into first place. All that hard work to get pole, and it's taken off us straight away. You can see though, it's going to be a very, very competitive first couple of laps now. Obviously, I've already mentioned we've got good pace on this track. I do still think that we haven't got quite enough pace to keep up with the Mercedes, but what we achieve in the first section of this race is absolutely sublime. Now, because we're on the 2-stopper, you have to now remember, when you look at the tyres in the top left-hand corner, we're both on super soft, so me and Hamilton are on, or it would seem that we're on the same strategy. So if I'm ahead of Hamilton, then I'm doing very, very well. I mentioned it in episode 1, I felt Hamilton was sort of like a good marker because we were competing with each other, and it's exactly the same in this race. From this first lap onwards, if I'm ahead of Hamilton, because it seems that we're on the same strategy, then it means that we're probably on for a very strong finish. Now, it gets very, very interesting because really, we take Hamilton in a second. A bit of a spoiler alert here. We take Hamilton in a second, and it just develops into this crazy, crazy race where, although we both started on the same strategy, we end up with very conflicting strategies, and it ends up being an incredible, incredible race. You'll see in a second, but very, very good first lap. Me and Hamilton seem to pull away quite nicely with having a nice little battle between ourselves. Going into the final corner here before the home stretch, we managed to pull a nice one on the inside line. In fact, no, what am I about? We don't pull one in the inside line. We get him down the straight, if I remember correctly. Yeah, we did. We got right behind him here. Managed to sort of tuck him behind and get on the inside for that first corner. And like we just said, you can see here we are dragging behind Hamilton, and we still don't have the pace to get past him in a straight line. So that Mercedes pair is clearly absolutely ridiculous. We do manage to take the inside line here, and he ends up running a little bit wide, leaving us nicely with the sort of freedom of the track to finish off the manoeuvre. But at this point onwards now, we just absolutely pulled away. You're going to see the whole of this second lap as well as the first lap that we've just seen, and you'll see we start to open up a gap. And bearing in mind we're on the same strategy, that really surprised me. I mean, we're on expert, which is very competitive in my opinion, and we just pulled away. I mean, I sometimes think that it's because I'm a bit ruthless with the tyres, and I think maybe Hamilton was trying to look after the tyres a bit more and play the long game. But for this start period of the race, from this point till about lap 10, 11, it ends up being an incredibly dull race, really. It reminded me a little bit of when Vettel was in his prime, and sort of Hamilton last season for Mercedes, where they qualified on pole, they took the lead and just blasted away into the distance, and no one could keep up with them. And that was the case in this race for a long time, but there is a bit of a twist in the tail to come soon, so don't you worry about it being too boring. But we're coming into the sort of final quarter of the second lap now. You can see the gap has really opened up. I think at this point we're about 2 seconds ahead of Lewis Hamilton, which I was so surprised that we managed to pull away, like I say. And at this point I just wanted to escape before the DRS kicked in, so I was really happy that we had the gap so we couldn't DRS on us, couldn't fly straight back past us. But like I say, the gap that we opened up absolutely astounded me. Now, the engineer did buzz in saying you can change strategy, but because we'd had such a good start, I didn't feel the need to change strategy, because I thought what we're doing now is working. The tyres felt good, we were pulling away, everything was just going so well. You can see here again, he's tried to offer me another strategy. We stick with the same one, pull into the pits on lap 5 in first position, and of course because we're pitting in, everyone is going to fly past us that's on the sort of longer game strategy, or hoping to make their tyres last a little bit more. But we get a good pit stop, and at this point it looked like it was just all going so rosy, everything was going absolutely perfect. We dropped back into about 10th place, if I remember correctly. We're pulling out the pits now. We're in 9th currently. I think we lose another position, but the grid was nicely spread out, so at no point did we ever get held up by anyone, which is absolutely how you want it. I mean, there's a couple of guys here which just, who is this here? I can't even remember, but we're just behind Magnussen. We're just behind Magnussen, but other than that, when you look behind me and how bad it could have been, we couldn't have really timed it much better. But We jump forward a little bit now. We're still in fact now we've jumped up into 8th position at this point, passing a few people in the pits already. We're going to pass a few more again now, jumping up the grid once again. And like I say, at this point, everything was going so perfectly. We were just cruising along, no one in our way. We were racing at a good pace. And at this point, we'd passed a few more people in the pits. We got up into 3rd place. We're on the 9th lap now, and there was just Hulkenberg and the race leader. I can't remember who it is again, forgive me, but we're just behind them. Sergio Perez it is. Just behind them, of course, they're yet to pit in at this point, so we're in a much stronger position. We've got the better car, we've got the fresher tyres. They're playing the long game, it seems. We've blast past Sergio Perez, as you'll see in a second. Hulkenberg we take nicely on this corner here, the last corner, but look at this here. The pace on Sergio Perez is ridiculous. We did, of course, have the DRS. We have got the quicker car, but we absolutely reel him in. Fly past him to the right going into that first corner. Absolutely crazy. That's like the most I've seen us reel anyone in on this career mode so far, but we take him over, going into the first corner, and once again we're back in 1st place and just simply cruising along, and we're like coming sort of up to the halfway line. In fact, no, we're not. We're still in the first quarter here, but we've skipped forward, and now we are close to the halfway line actually. Again, we're pitting in for the second time. We've been cruising, everything's hunky-dory. We're pitting in now, and in theory we should come out in about 5th or 6th position. We should then be able to take them over when they're going for their pit stops. That was the whole thing. Like I say, it was just going so well again. Sweet pit stop, we're coming into the pits, still in 3rd place. It just couldn't have gone any better, but that'd just be too boring, wouldn't it, lads? There was always going to be an incident. It could never go just as you planned. It just never is the way, is it? You can see we drop back into 4th place, but we take a couple of places in the pits. We come down the home straight here, we're into 2nd place. We take over, is it Kimi Räikkönen? It was in the pits here. We passed Kimi Räikkönen, back in the lead. 2nd place would of course be Hamilton when everyone's pitted in still, and he was about 12 or 13 seconds behind. But this is where it gets interesting, because Hamilton at this point was on a quicker tyre and he was reeling us in. Now it got to the point where Hamilton was about 4 seconds behind us with 2 laps to go. I was absolutely cacking my pants, reeling us in, but I thought, you know what, we've still got a 3-second gap. He's not on our DRS yet. We sort of maintained the 3-second gap at this point. He'd stopped catching us up so much, his tyres had become a little bit more worn, but nevertheless he was catching us up. 2 laps to go. Like I say, I was so nervous, but we were maintaining the gap. Everything was going well. Away from Hamilton was Rosberg. There was about another 5-second gap to Rosberg, I believe, so he was a bit behind Hamilton. So worst case scenario at this point, even if Hamilton took us over and caught us up, we would still be guaranteed that podium position, because 3rd behind Rosberg I think was Ricciardo, and he was another sort of 5 seconds back from Rosberg, sorry, so it would have to have been a nightmare. But we come around the final corner here, going on to lap 28, and the car just stalls. It cuts out completely, engine problem, don't know what was going on here. At first I thought I'd screwed up and I'd run out of fuel, but that wasn't the case. You can see there was no fuel monitor flashing, nothing had gone on like that. It was just an all-out bad luck disaster, I think. I mean, let me know if you know something different in the comments, but absolute disaster. I was absolutely gutted. We come out the pits, we're still up there, we're still in 4th place, but then Daniel Ricciardo, so Ricciardo wasn't in 4th before, apologies, he was in 5th, but Ricciardo, our teammate, our rival, comes flying down the home straight past us, and we drop back into 5th, and this was when there was 2 laps left to go. Absolutely heartbreaking. We skipped forward here to the last lap. We managed to catch up to Ricciardo because of course we got the fresher tyres, and at this point we got really fresh tyres, and obviously that was never the plan. The plan was to just bring home the guy in 1st place, which I still think we would have done. I still think we'd have held off Hamilton, but I mean, what can you do, lads? Absolutely heartbreaking, but we got so much pace over Ricciardo, absolutely reeled him in the lap and a half up to this point. We're always going to pass him. He's our rival and our teammate. I was never going to let him finish above us, especially from the position that we've been in. When we came out behind him, I was like, no way is Ricciardo going to beat us. We get the run on him here going into the sort of last corner of the race. You can see we take it really nicely, get on the outside line, cut back across him. It was actually a lot closer than I wanted it to be when I cut across to the left. You'll see, so close there, could have easily taken us both out, but just about got away with it. He does go to the right hand side, tries to make the pass on the last corner, but we do manage to hold him off, and we are going to bring home a 4th place finish at the Bahrain Grand Prix. Could have been so much more. Once again, lads, we qualified on pole. This time though, the strategy didn't let us down. It was just rotten luck that let us down. You can see, just, I was absolutely devastated, man. What could have been in that race? We should have had the win. Mercedes get to celebrate instead with a 1-2 with Hamilton and Rosberg. And like I say, just absolutely good. Hopefully that bad luck can turn, like I say, 2 pole positions, and we haven't even got a podium yet, which is like absolutely crazy. But we still brought home a 4th place finish. We still finished above the 5th place, which is where we want to finish in the championship at the end of the day. We beat Ricardo, so we're going to take some positives out of this race, but still, it's another one of those where you look back at it and you just think, you know, it could have been so much more. But that is going to bring an end to the Bahrain Grand Prix, lads. I hope you all did enjoy this. Make sure to check out the first episode if you missed it, like I said at the start. Hope you're all going to enjoy the F1. I know it's not FIFA, which a lot of you are used to, but there still will be FIFA content. Of course, leading up to FIFA 17 when that's released, so don't worry. FIFA will still be here. Enjoy the F1 while it's around, because I certainly am. I think this game is absolutely awesome. But without any further ado, lads, I'm going to round off the episode. Have a great night. I will speak to you in tomorrow's video. Nidge out.
Yo, he's Nidge, plays with big games and player reviews are getting insane. He entertains while he elevates, his video quality resonates. On career mode, he got lots of vids uploading off and he's rocking it. He's got the confidence in all his commentaries. Videos range, they often vary. Got Need for Speed and a road to glory. Just watching vids and you know the story. The content is underrated, I'm understating, so don't ignore the like and subscribe button to support the channel that keeps running. It takes 1 second, like it's free, it costs nothing. Peace.